So we're live.
Got anyone coming on?
I thought I clicked that on. Okay, we've got a minute to go.
Even if
Yes.
no one came, I'm still going to do it. We can load it to YouTube, and
Yeah. No, we've got
I still
we've got people coming on.
I like to build the kind of library, if you like, of
Yes.
presentations. So we've got it as a resource.
Yes. Sure. Tim is on. We've got a few people today.
Oh, good.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Freedom Friday again with Tony Knight and myself, Gerald Lopez. I'm Tony Knight's the main man, and I'm in the background, making sure everything runs smoothly, which sometimes is a bit of a challenge, but hey, we try our best. So today, Tony is going to. We've been over the last couple of months, the last few Freedom Fridays. We've been talking about the five elements as the basis of Earthstar freedom. So we've talked about earth, we've talked about water, we've talked about air, and today we're going to talk about fire. So what you feel fire means. And fire means a lot of things. It means a lot of things on the physical level, the psychological level, the emotional level. So welcome, Tony. And yeah, look forward to what you have to tell us about the intelligence of fire.
Thanks, Gerald. Great to be back on Freedom Friday. Um, yeah, and thank you all for coming. I appreciate everyone who comes on and makes the time to listen to what I've got to say. It makes me feel really good, and it motivates me to keep going. So thank you all. Um, yeah, so basically, I'm going to do a bit of an overview of where we've been. I always like to do a bit of an overview just so people get the idea of the bigger picture. And I like these models, and hopefully everyone can see that model. Well, there's actually a couple of models there, but I've just put the text on the cross. So, as Gerald said, we've already covered earth, water, air, and now we're doing fire. And these elements are not some nebulous kind of abstract term that's totally disconnected from us in our life. They are intricately connected. We are made of earth, we are made of water, we are made of air, and we are made of fire, or we're made in fire. And, and we can relate to them as the physical aspect, the actual soil of the earth, the water of our oceans and our rivers. Obviously, we have air all around us and all the components that make up air, and we have the fire. Now, it can be physical fire, and it can also be it's the sun, and the fire is very, very intricately connected to the sun and the sun energy and light and all that makes that up. And then we have ether as well, which is the invisible element of it, which is really just pure energy. Ether is like, it's also known as prana in Hinduism, and what's known as life force. And so, ironically, ether is probably the most important part of anything in life, because even though it's invisible, it's the blueprint, it's the energy of which all physical matter can appear. So just to go over those elements again in a different vein, Earth can relate to our bodies, it relates to our material life, it relates to our food. Obviously, it relates to the physical planet of which we live. So it often relates to home life. It relates to our work and being grounded, and structure relates to infrastructure, systems, anything that's even on a less tangible level. There are earthly aspects to what we do, and creating infrastructure, creating systems is very much assisted by people who have a strong earth nature. When I say an earth nature, they're very grounded people who like to tinker with things. They're often technician type people. They're often people who do trades as well, that sort of thing. So all these elements relate to a doing aspect of life. They relate to a psychological aspect of life. They relate to physical aspect of life. They relate to the feeling and emotional aspect of life. They also relate to the soul aspect of life in the sense of fire, which we'll go into. Our soul is akin to fire, because it is said that our soul is actually born out from a spark. We came from a spark, the spark became a flame, and the flame is akin to our soul. So we've got to look at these elements in different contexts, in different layers or levels of existence, from very objective physical aspects to very subjective and abstract aspects. So this is where, I've got up there on the screen, you've got the cross there. That's the actual ancient Celtic cross that we've got. And it's really related to the 4 seasons. The cross is actually a very ancient symbol that predates all religion. It really relates to the movement of our sun and the 2 equinoxes and the 2 solstices. It also relates to, it's a directional thing. So just like in life, we need to know which direction we're heading. We need to have direction in the sense of earth, water, air, and fire. In other words, we need to be building our earth. We need to be directed towards our emotional body, to our mental body, and to our soul body. And ultimately, I've put ether there in the center, because all things come from the center. From the center of everything is at the center of the circle. But ether is actually, strictly speaking, it's the whole circle, and it intermingles with all the elements. So it's not just in the center, it's actually everywhere. So it's a directional symbol. It's also related to the 4 seasons and cycles, how life goes in cycles. So the earth element is often attributed to winter, The water element is often attributed to spring, um, the air element to autumn, or sometimes it's the other way around. Some people see water as more autumn and air as spring. And the fire element is clearly summer. And yeah, so really, when we're in the summer of our life, we can be in the we're in our full capacity as a being who's reaching the zenith of our life purpose and our life path, if you like. Um, Water is very much attributed to often to spring, because that's often when the rains. So sometimes the rains come in spring, and sometimes they come in autumn. But it's also related to spring is often a very emotional aspect of the season, because we're getting a lot of 4 seasons in one day. It can be quite turbulent with wind, which brings emotion, and it can be it's a time of planting. It's a time where we seed things, whereas and then in the summer is when we're nurturing, and in the autumn it's harvest, and it's often where the winds are blowing. In winter in autumn, as we get into early winter, there's often a lot of wind, and it very much relates to air. It relates to breath, and it relates to as I say, harvest, and sort of preparing for the winter. And earth is where we retreat within to our homes in winter. It's a time where we go back to our plan, to reflect, to basically just sit around the fire and go into the womb, if you like, into the womb of our own being, where we can figure out what our next plans are. It's a very good time for planning in winter time, and it's very much an earth action. Planning is earthy people are very good planners generally, and they're very good at coming up with systems and looking at details and analyzing things. So that's kind of just giving you a recap on that. When it comes to fire, as I say, it's really related to our soul. And our soul, if you pronounce soul, it sounds like S-O as well as S-O-U-L. And S-O-L is our sun. So the soul is akin to our sun. You could say that our soul is like a mini sun, we're literally like a light being at our soul level, and without the sun, there would be no life. There would be no life at all. So the sun is a very strong fire element, and the sun is actually, as I've discovered, the sun is like an electromagnetic ball of fire. It's literally, I believe it is actually a black hole, and that might sound quite crazy when you think of it. It doesn't look black, but the sun is produced from electromagnetic energy in extremely high levels of energy, and all light actually comes from the dark. There's known as the dark light, and there's the clear light. And when you look at electromagnetics and quantum physics, all light that we can actually physically see, the sunlight, is a byproduct of plasma, which is the electric side, and magnetics, which is the power side, coming together and having a reaction in the form of sunlight. I've seen a lot of close-up photos of the sun. When you look at the sun in close-up, it's actually dark. It is actually dark behind there, and so it's like it's like an electromagnetic ball that is spewing out this light, and that is what creates life on the planet. That it's not just the warmth of the sun. It's not just our physical light. It is the basis of which allows everything to grow. Plants would not grow without the sun. We would not grow without sun. We get our vitamin D from sun. Photosynthesis happens under sun. It's creating chemical reactions. It creates chemical infusions, and it's under the chemical reactions that create physical matter. Physical matter comes from the chemicals within all biological life, and it's under the heat of the sun that a seed will come up through the soil. It needs the earth, obviously, for the seed, and it needs water, and it needs air as well. Air, you need aerated soil, but it would not grow without the sun. The warmth of the sun penetrates the soil, and that's what sort of triggers the seed to rise up. And you'll notice all trees, all plants, they're rising up to meet the sun. And we are the same. We are growing as a physical body, in part because of the sun. And it has a whole lot of other effects on our mind, on our emotions. It lights us up. You know, we talk about being lighted up, enlightenment. It really is talking about a sun and soul element. And so it's very important to understand the underlying aspects of creation. And the sun is clearly a major element in our life. The sun, fire element, also talks about passion. It's when we're lighted up, we're passionate. And so if we're very strong in our earth element, earthy people need to often bring more fire and passion into their life. Otherwise, they can become like couch potatoes. They can become kind of lazy. That's the negative side of earth, is they can be quite unmotivated and maybe wallow around a bit. So fire, that's why the fire to me is the opposite of earth. Fire and air are partners, and earth and water are partners. But they are all integrated together, but they all work in a symbiotic, synergistic way. But fire is great for earthy people, just as water is really good for an air person, or vice versa, because they are opposites. Water people, you know, if you're too emotional, you often need more of the left brain and more of the critical thinking aspect. But anyway, coming back to fire, it's passion, and passion leads to purpose. To me, I equate our real ultimate purpose is born out of fire, but to me, purpose is very much an etheric element, because it's about the ultimate big picture. It's everything that we ultimately, when I talk about directions, the ultimate direction is knowing your purpose. So it's about doing what you love, and emphasis on doing and love, because the fire is also very much related to your heart. The soul, to me, the heart is the seat of the soul. And so, but if you combine doing from your heart, that is often directed at your passions and purpose. So I believe that we've all got gifts that we can be exercising, and just a lot of people, they simply aren't doing what lights them up. They aren't following their passion and their purpose because they haven't yet discovered who they are, or why they're here on this planet. And so the why is a very important question. Why are we doing anything? So so we need to find that. I believe we need to find our why. And then as you find the why and you join that up with what you want to do and how you want to do it, then it starts to all come together. We need to answer all the 5 main questions of why, of what, of where, when, and how. And if we're only as strong as our weakest link. So if we don't understand how we're going to do anything, then we're not fully working towards that passion, and we're not working towards our purpose. Because our how isn't in an action, and how is very much an earth-based element as well in my mind, because it's about the details. It's about applying things to the earth. How are we going to do it is really about having a plan, and it's an earth-orientated action. So the key is about balance of all the elements. We can't be. It's all great to have lots of passion and fire, but again, if you're not grounded, then it can be fire that burns you out. It can literally fry you, and we have to also obviously balance it with the air and water, which is very much a left and right brain, and the fire is like our soul, and our earth is like our grounding point. Our taking time out to analyze and ponder things is also quite a good earth element. So when we look at horoscopes, these also give you clues as to where you're strong and where you're not so strong. And I do recommend astrology as a means to get to understand your personality and your characteristics, from looking at it from an objective point of view. I have a fair bit of fire and air in my chart, and really I am very much strong on those elements. So there's definitely something to it. So I have to work on being more grounded and to balance out my water, to balance out my emotions. Well, another aspect of fire is our digestive system and what's happening inside our body. And digestive fire, it's all about having this fire to digest our food. It's also known in Ayurvedic medicine as we need to have like chili. The spicy chili is a fiery kind of food, and that can help us to create more fire. And so that's another way of looking at fire in our foods and in the way we digest foods. Also, getting out and about. I talked about action. Fire is like an action. So, and it's also fire people are often very people orientated. They like to mix and mingle and get in amongst it, and they like to shoot the breeze, and that means good communication. So there is a certain fire element in your communication. When you're passionate about something, your languaging will often reflect that, and it's passionate, inspired communication is what helps to move other people. So to be inspired means to be inspirited. To be inspirited means that you're lit up, you're very much in your fire element when you're inspired, and it's talking directly about your spirit, which to me is the ultimate blueprint. This to me, the ether element is our spirit, and that's always intricately connected to our soul via the energies. Fire people are often very big picture orientated. They can be very dreamy. They can get lost in their dreams, and it can be wishes. It can be more wishful thinking rather than actual purpose-driven, grounded kind of dreaming. So dreaming is good, and having your imagination is very, very powerful, but it needs to be balanced. So I'm a big picture person. I can get very out there. And so this is where I have to concentrate on my earth element. And a quick way to do that is just simply just to go in nature, and sometimes I go and dig the garden. If I'm feeling very ungrounded, I'll go out and dig the garden, or I'll just walk on grass, or just hug a tree, whatever, just to connect with the earth, even if it's just having a walk on the beach or a walk in the forest. That is also, getting forest bathing is also a very powerful way to get cleansed and to get energized in an earthy way. But ultimately, all these elements, to me, it's all about freedom. My purpose is about freedom and awakening to freedom and awakening others, not just to freedom, but awakening others to also truth. I see truth as like our foundation, and truth again is a different aspect of truth on every element. There's the truth of the earth, and there's truth related to water and emotions and flow. There's truth related to our mind and our mental capacity, to critical thinking, to imagination, and using our mind in an open way. And there's a truth obviously to our soul and to the fire element, and to ultimately to the truth of energy and ether, prana, and all of that. So I see truth as our ultimate foundation, but like I said, there's levels of truth, but it's all very quite foundational. Truth, however, doesn't really affect anything, or nothing really happens until we start expressing it, and we start using our consciousness in order to start communicating that truth, and also for us to also our inner communication. We have to be creative, is to be consciously to create something. It needs to be done consciously, and so I highly advocate experience is a wonderful way to get conscious, to try different things, to take action on things. You're always going to be learning, and you're going to be building your own conscious awareness through trial and error. And that action again is quite a fire and air element kind of resource. And then to me, the ultimate goal through truth, conscious co-creation is freedom. Freedom works on every level of those elements. There's a certain freedom within your physical reality, freedom in finances, freedom in your home life, freedom in your workplace, freedom in your as another foundation, freedom in having a good solid foundation in your life in general. And there's a certain there's freedom within emotions. Ultimately, feelings are the ultimate higher expression of emotions. But to be able to express your emotions is very important and very freeing. And from a mind, I mean, to be free in your mind, to be open-minded. Really, that's the way the mind works best, is to be open. And there's a wonderful freedom in that, a freedom of not caring what other people think of you, a freedom in expressing your ideas, expressing your concepts. And then there's obviously a great deal of freedom to be found when you're connecting with your soul and with your light, with your inner light and the outer light, and in your passion and your purpose as well. So yeah, so that's kind of how I see the fire fitting in. And then I always like to sort of tie everything up to, as we often run a thread of financial freedom in these talks. And I think that's a very important area of our life to be focused on right now. Because without freedom in our finances, we do not have a true foundation. And when I say finances, I don't mean just money. I mean money is a tool. Money is just a tool. Money is a medium of exchange. Ultimately, the goal is to change it up to a higher expression. We use money in order to assist other people. We can use money to attain our goals. And so it's not about accumulating money. It's about using money in a way that serves others and ways serves humanity, not just ourselves. And finances in the form of transacting. When we need to transact, we're always transacting. We're always exchanging things. We're always needing something, and other people are needing what they need, and we need what we need. So we each need we all have something to exchange to get what we want. And often right now, the best medium of exchange is some form of money, or and it can be assets. It can be things like, in olden days it was gold and silver. Now it's becoming more tending towards the cryptocurrency aspect. And so I have been looking at cryptocurrency, and it has a certain it's opened up a whole lot of new doors because of this certain technologies now that have been presented on Earth, which we've never had before. And I truly believe that some of these technologies could be the way of the future, and wonderfully freeing for humanity. But we have to be discerning. We have to do our research, and we have to get to understand. We have to understand what we're looking at, and this does take a bit of time. And again, this comes back to the earth, air, water, and fire elements again. Is when we're researching anything, we need to be in touch with our emotions. We need to be obviously aware of what we're thinking. Are they positive thoughts? Is this going to lead us to our goals? We need to check in with where we're at as well as why we're doing things. We need to ensure we're following a grounded set of protocols and a formula. And we also need to be inspired, and we need to be lit up by what we're doing. It's something that's going to serve what we hope to achieve. So that's really ultimately my main download at this point. You'll see on the right hand side there that I've got another model there, the 5-pointed star. That's also could be used as the 5 elements. And there's other aspects, there's other symbols or models that we could use to outline these elements. These are just the ones that I'm using now. And I like that there's a circle around the 5-pointed star, because really we should seal everything with a circle. The circle is the ultimate form of sacred geometry to me. Energy moves in circles. The sun is obviously spherical. A lot of people beg to differ, but I believe our planet is elliptical sphere, elliptoid, but a sphere nonetheless. It's really just in following the basic laws of the universe and energy, and to me, I cannot go along with the flat Earth theory. To me, is highly flawed, but that's just my opinion. I'm not here to argue that rightly or wrongly. So if anyone if you have anything you want to add to that, Gerald, or has anyone got any queries, questions?
Well, Tim said to him, fire relates to our soul and our source energy. So he agreed with you that was earlier on. And he also said, when we talked about our purpose, he said our spark turns into a flame when we follow our truth and our passions. It burns much brighter. So
I like that.
Sure. So Tony, so if someone feels that they need a bit more fire in their life, so what would you recommend for them to increase their fire?
What I would do is I would do a little bit of a if you say an audit on what makes you feel so most excited, what really inspires you. Also, I would look at the things that you are really good at, and if those things that you're good at are also the things that you most feel inspired by, and it's like it's not even work, it's like you're just naturally inspired to do certain things, I would say that is going to help your fire quotient. I would be looking at what what really inspires you, and what if money was no object, what would you most love to be doing right now?
Yeah.
Because we have a wonderful there's a wonderful manifestation rule that if we just if we focused on what we most loved and what we most love to do, that the great why, the how takes care of itself, as the saying goes. So find what also why you would want to be doing it, because again, it's, as I say, it's not about money. It's about achieving what your ultimate vision is. What is it here that we're here on Earth to achieve and to do, and what impact are you most inspired to achieve?
And I suppose some people find themselves, they're kind of they're looking for their purpose, and they feel that they're kind of stuck in a situation where they can't really fulfill that purpose, or what inspires them. They might be stuck in a job because they have to make money to survive, and ultimately it de-energizes them, doesn't it? So it kind of becomes a vicious circle, because they lose energy because they're not following their passion. So how can we, and I think a lot of people are in that situation. How can we break out of that situation of being stuck in that spiral?
Yeah. I'm a great advocate of meditation for that. As if we can be still long enough and with quality, something magical starts to happen, and you start getting these kind of intuitive kind of sensations and thoughts, and I believe that we could just be spending our time chasing our tail otherwise, unless we do something different. And we also need to connect, like I say, in communication. We need to increase our more energized kind of energized communication, improve our physiological self. So in other words, kind of get up and about and get moving, get walking, get in nature, because nature is the simple best thing we can do to raise our energy. And when we're raising our energy, we can break out of that cycle, that downward cycle. Getting some actual sunshine, do some sun gazing at the horizons. That's really quite powerful, and anyone can do it, and it will lift you up. Get around near water, or get near breathing is very important, because once we can find ways to naturally increase our energy, we will naturally increase, we're broadening and we're widening our sphere of action that we can take, and we also need to weed out those beliefs that are limiting us. We need to sort of pass them along by just being aware of what we're doing, and we don't need to make a big judgment out of it. It's not a big song and dance. It's just simply about watching and witnessing yourself, and you'll find that when you're fully present to your beliefs, and you're witnessing them like in a completely non-judgmental way, they start to just move. Yeah, they start to dissolve. I'm not sure how that happens, but I know it happens.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems that what you're from what I've gathered is what you're saying is create the space to allow the processing to occur. So I suppose creating that space, of ether and air, so to allow that processing, to allow inspiration to come, and then the fire part of it is to actually take action and actually take your small steps that are going to take you out of your situation towards a situation that you want to move towards.
Absolutely. Baby steps. Baby
Mm.
steps. Yeah, exactly. And just try something that's a bit out of the norm of what you, excuse me, what you normally do. Um, just do something like even as simple as how people get stuck in a rut and they go the same way every morning to work and they come home the same way and they have it on the same radio station and they thinking the same thing. And they're getting frustrated with the the weather or the traffic or this or that. Try just go a different way. Put your radio on a different station, or
Mm.
take the radio off, and just try and do something out of the ordinary. Um, and it's the same with lots of other things you're doing at home. In the weekend, instead of just going out, having your breakfast and then going online and just doing the same old things, maybe start looking at something different, or go
Mm.
for a walk, or do something different to what you normally do. It's amazing how just little things like that can start to move you in different ways. Um, and think about do a synopsis audit of where you're at in your life. Do a sort of do a thing where you can look at all the great things that you really love that you do, and you don't really want to change, but look at also all the other things that are bugging you, that are frustrating you, that you just feel stuck, and just get really honest about yourself and what you're doing. And they say that if you truly want to make change, then make a decision. Just say to yourself, "This has got to stop. I'm not going to do this anymore. I want I want to do something different. I want to get out of this rut."
Mm.
Uh, yeah, and if there was anything that I really also do is I believe we should, um, just my opinion, but I believe that especially when it comes to the fire aspect and the soul aspect, um, research how electromagnetic um, electromagnetic science works. Look at explore how quantum physics works, or the quantum theory. Look at look at the ancient um, before. Um, so I'm just trying to think of this word, the occult. We look at cult, when you think of cult, probably think of it. People a lot of immediately jump to the negative and, oh, that's how we get controlled and all that. but the occult just means hidden. And I'm a great believer in looking deeper and looking at like this elemental, the cross, what it really means, and look at how everything just came originally. It came from knowledge. Everything was about, it was about gnosis. Gnosis means knowledge. And before there was any religion, there was always just about knowledge. And looking at objective knowledge, looking at the objective truths are the foundation, another way of looking at foundation. So look at, how energy moves, how energy is connected to everything else. Looking at vibration and looking at the seven key laws of nature, or the universal laws. I can't get enough of that stuff, because whenever I get stuck on something, if I just go back to the basic fundamental laws of the universe, or the universe, or the of objective knowledge and electromagnetics, and looking at energy, and looking at also how everything is dual, how we have this, new dual polarity type thing. If we look at the laws, like the laws of polarity, it is so powerful to explore it. And it's amazing how things can start to make sense when you're looking at the deeper levels of those fundamental universal laws. All truth to me ultimately comes down to the basic laws of the universe.
Yeah. So Tim says something quite interesting. He says, fear is like water to fire. It keeps your fire contained and it can put it out. So like we were asking how to increase your fire. So if you live in fear, I suppose what that means is that the emotion of fear actually puts out your fire.
That's right. But by being aware that you are experiencing fear, completely negates it stops fear taking hold of your life. When you're just witnessing or observing that you are experiencing fear, rather than getting caught up in the fear itself, that is actually very powerful. It's a very powerful way to move beyond the fear. And it's very subtle. It's very subtle, but it's about just observing. Just as observation is really a primary first port of call, really, for anything. Is just observing nature, observing your thoughts, observing what you're feeling, observing your work or your relationships or anything, and just getting a kind of objective read on where you're at, warts and all, without any kind of trying to fool or fool yourself that everything's tickety boo, and really it's not. It's about getting really honest, being brutally honest sometimes. So we sometimes need to have to take stock of where we are before we can make any real changes. We have to sort of wind back the clock and go back to strip everything back to its basic, simple simplicity of life.
I suppose that's part of seeking. Well, that is seeking truth, isn't it? That is the truth is what you observe. It's what you observe dispassionately.
Yeah, can be very subjective, and it can be very objective. The more if we're all just about subjective truth, then we often get caught in the weeds. This is why I think we may not be able to reach absolute truth, but we can certainly reach objective truth. And really, to me, objective truth is another way of saying what science. That's what science ultimately means, to understand truth. And what they mean by that is it's objective truth. It's in other words, it's laws of nature that never change. The sun always comes up and then it moves in the same direction every year. It follows the same cycle, the same elements of movement in the sun. And the way again, that's why I come back to electromagnetism, because it's you can bank on it. Electromagnetics works in a perfect way that it solves a lot of issues. It cuts through all the rubbish and all the bullshit to get to the core of things quite quickly. So I recommend people study the Hermetic laws. What Thoth was talking about there, and looking at the ancient Egyptian manuscripts. Fascinating. And looking at the laws of energy, how energy works. It's almost having to forget about the physicality of the physical reality, and dig into the energetic aspects of life, because that is where the real fundamental energy, with whatever we're attempting to create, it always starts with energy.
Yeah, it seems like as long as we are stuck with a mechanical kind of view of the world, that it's just bits and pieces, we're going to have we can't surpass our problems. But once we start looking at the world and ourselves as energy, then it gives a whole new range of tools and abilities to change things. Like what I find in my health practice as an Ayurvedic or yoga therapy practitioner is that when people become aware of their energies, they start taking control of their health and taking control of how they feel and all sorts of things in their lives. So I think once we move into that energy aspect and understanding it, then life on earth will change. I think we'll see a big shift.
I totally agree. Exactly, you explained that really well. That is so true. I mean, just again looking at the five elements again. I mean, with the earth, simply just interacting with nature and the earth, and that is energy. That is creating more energy, and the water aspect, and air, and our breath, and our fire, and the sun, and finding ways to increase our passion and purpose is just it's so important to getting those fundamental energy elements. It's about getting all your element in the right order, if you like.
Yeah.
It's quite simple ultimately, but it's not easy, and it's not easy because we've got to we've got to almost un we've got to unlearn a whole lot of things. We've got to really
Yeah.
got to unravel this sort of conditioning and that we've had, and we've got to peel back the layers and get back to the core fundamentals of what's important, what's really really important for us. You know, love is the ultimate quality, but there's many different aspects of love. There's sort of more physical love. There's lust is sometimes seen as love. There's love in different very basic sides, and then there's the ultimate love, which is what you could say is the divine. You could say it's great spirit, or it's love is like the glue, that it's the ultimate energy that binds everything together, and that's why love is related to our heart, and it's always it's in the center, because that is it's the key element really is love, but it's love within and it's love without, and it's all different aspects of love.
Mm. That's well, we could have a session on that soon.
Absolutely.
Well, for the next session, I suppose you're going to talk about ether, and then bring it all together. And I suppose what brings it all together is love, isn't it? Because love is the binding for all the elements. It's kind of the whole package, isn't it? So
it is. It is. It's gravity and electromagnetism. When you look at energy and how everything's connected and everything's vibration and frequency, it's ultimately love at the ultimate level of all existence. It's what we're here for, is to expand that love quotient.
Great. So, well, that's all we have time for this week. So we'll catch you next time. Do you think it'll be in a couple of weeks or so for the next session?
Yeah, we'll do. I may well do a financial. We'll do a crypto thing next week, which I'll probably do by Zoom. But in 2 weeks' time, we will do the ether.
Great.
The ether element, and and how to sort of try and bring it all together into a greater whole. It's a wholeness of being.
Great. Well,
but we'll do something next week, which I will just let everyone know what my angle will be on that.
Okay, well, great. Thanks a lot, Tony. And thanks a lot, everyone, for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for coming.